Commander Juwu Park stood at the center of the Horizon's bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of Sagittarius X3. The black hole's swirling vortex cast eerie blue light across her face. 15 years of her life had led to this moment. 15 years of being told it was impossible. 15 years of hearing no from colleagues, superiors, and the entire Galactic Alliance. Simulation complete, announced the ship's eye. Projected survival probability, 27.3%. Science Officer Taehyun Kim looked up from his station, his face tight with concern. Those odds haven't improved in the last 3 runs. They've gotten better since last month, Juwu replied, zooming in on the event horizon's boundary. I remember when we were at 12%. The bridge fell silent. The 5-person command crew all knew what was at stake. They had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might never return. Taehyun finally broke the silence. Commander, I feel I should remind you again that the Galactic Alliance has explicitly forbidden this mission. They consider black hole exploration suicidal. Juwu nodded without looking away from the display. I'm well aware of the Alliance's position, Taehyun. They've threatened to expel Earth from the Coalition if we proceed. Let them. Juwu finally turned to face her science officer. That's precisely why it has to be humans. Our species has always pushed boundaries others won't touch. The tension in the room eased slightly. This was a familiar conversation, one they'd had many times during the years of preparation. Did you know the Araxians have a saying about us? Asked communications specialist Seojin Ba from his station. They say humans are the only species crazy enough to run toward danger just to see what it looks like. Medical Officer Minji Ryu laughed. I've heard the Vexari refer to us as the blessed fools. Apparently their religion teaches that only beings without proper fear can find hidden truths. Both accurate, Juwu smiled. She walked to the window that overlooked the massive orbital dock where the Horizon was being prepped. The ship gleamed under the work lights, its silver hull reflecting the stars beyond. The prototype vessel was unlike anything humans had ever built, its revolutionary gravitational shielding the culmination of decades of research and innovation. It's beautiful, said engineer Dae-Hyun Yoon as he joined her at the window. The finest ship humans have ever built. Will it be enough? Asked Juwu quietly, for his ears only. Dae-Hyun nodded, his confidence unwavering. The shield harmonics can withstand forces 5 times what we expect at the outer event horizon. If anything can make it through, it's the Horizon. A soft chime interrupted them. Incoming transmission from Alliance Command, announced Seojin. Priority channel. Juwu sighed. Put it through. The main screen illuminated with the stern face of Admiral Minho Lee. His scaled skin reflected the light of his office on the Alliance homeworld. Commander Park, he began without greeting. Our sensors detect final launch preparations. I must urge you, one last time, to reconsider this reckless endeavor. Juwu stood straighter. Admiral, my crew and I appreciate your concern. This is beyond concern, Commander. This mission violates our most fundamental safety protocols. No sentient species has ever survived crossing a black hole's event horizon. The physics alone. The physics are precisely why we're going. Admiral, Juwu cut in. Our simulations show. Your simulations are based on incomplete data and human optimism, Minho replied, the membrane around his eyes pulsing with frustration. The Alliance Council has voted unanimously against this mission. With respect, Admiral, Juwu said, her voice firm but polite. Humans joined your alliance as equals, not subjects. We're going. The Admiral's scales darkened, a sign of anger in his species. Then you go without Alliance support or protection. Should you somehow survive to return, you may find Earth standing in the galactic community significantly diminished. The transmission ended abruptly. That went well, Taehyun said dryly. Juwu turned to face her crew. Anyone having second thoughts? This is your last chance to transfer off the mission. No questions asked, no marks on your record. The four officers looked at each other, then back at their commander. None moved. Good, Juwu nodded. Because I need all of you, especially now that we're on our own. When were we ever not on our own? Asked Minji with a small smile. The Alliance was never going to help with this. True enough, Juwu acknowledged. Daehyun, where are we on the final checks? The engineer consulted his tablet. Fuel cells at 100%. Shield generators tested and ready. Hull integrity optimal. We're just waiting on the final supply delivery, scheduled to arrive in 2 hours. And the crew? Juwu looked to Minji. All 50 cleared for duty. Medical profiles updated. Cryo chambers prepped in case of emergency. Juwu nodded. Seojin, send a message to all personnel. Final briefing at 1800 hours. Launch window opens at 500 tomorrow. As her officers returned to their stations, Juwu walked to her private ready room off the bridge. The door slid shut behind her, and she finally allowed herself a moment of doubt. The weight of 50 lives rested on her decisions. 50 humans who trusted her enough to follow her into a black hole. Her desk console blinked with a private message. It was from Professor Yunho Kang, her old mentor from the academy. The message was simple. The unknown waits for the brave. Make history, Juwu. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Seojin. Commander, I thought you should know. News of our launch has spread. We're receiving messages from all over Earth. Let me guess, more warnings about how crazy we are. The opposite, Seojin smiled. Messages of support, thousands of them. Schools, research centers, everyday people. They're all watching, Commander. They believe in us. Something tightened in Juwu's chest. Thank you, Seojin. That's good to hear. After he left, Juwu returned to the window. Beyond the dock, beyond the orbital station, she could see Earth, blue and green and perfect. The cradle of humanity. The species that had looked up at the stars for thousands of years and always asked, what's out there? Tomorrow, they would take the biggest step yet toward answering that question. They would go where no sentient being had gone before and survived to tell about it. They would cross the boundary of a black hole, not because it was safe, but because it was there. And perhaps most importantly, they would show the galaxy that humanity would not be held back by fear. Not even fear of the most terrifying force in the universe. We're going, she whispered to herself, echoing her words to the Admiral. We're really going. The horizon waited, its systems humming with potential energy, ready to carry them into history or oblivion. The horizon trembled as another gravitational wave passed through the ship. Commander Juwu Park gripped the edge of her command chair, watching the status displays flicker with each new surge. 3 months into their journey, and the reality of their mission was becoming impossible to ignore. Shields holding at 82%, reported engineer Junno Choi. His fingers danced across his console, making minute adjustments to the power distribution. That wave was stronger than the last one. Juwu nodded. They're coming more frequently too. The main view screen showed their destination in terrible clarity. Sagittarius X3 dominated the display, a perfect darkness surrounded by a swirling maelstrom of superheated matter. Light bent around it in ways that hurt the eyes if you stared too long. It was beautiful and terrifying. Distance to event horizon, 1.2 million kilometers, announced Science Officer Taehyun Kim. We're well inside what the Alliance defines as the prohibited zone. As if on cue, Navigator Haijin Kang called out from her station. Commander, sensors are picking up an approaching vessel. Alliance registry. She paused, listening to her earpiece. They're hailing us. Juwu wasn't surprised. She had expected this. On screen, the image of Sagittarius X3 was replaced by the stern face of an Alliance captain. The blue-skinned Meridian looked angry, her facial ridges pulsing with irritation. Human vessel horizon. This is Captain Nara of the Alliance patrol ship Vigilant. You have entered a prohibited zone. And how long until we cross that threshold at our current speed? Approximately 27 minutes. Jiwoo nodded and reactivated the transmission. Captain Nara, we respect the Alliance's position, but Earth has authorized this mission. We'll be past your weapons range in less than 30 minutes. I suggest you save your energy. The Meridian captain's face darkened. You humans are impossibly stubborn. The Alliance welcomed your species because of your adaptability and creative thinking, not for suicidal heroics. Sometimes they're the same thing, Jiwoo replied. Horizon out. The view screen returned to the image of the black hole. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Do you think they'll actually fire on us? Asked Communications Officer Jin Wuxin. They might, Jiwoo said. Chono, can we increase our speed? The engineer nodded. We can push the engines to 110% for about 20 minutes. It would get us past their weapons range faster. Do it. The ship hummed as the engines increased power. The black hole grew larger on the view screen. Alliance vessel is pursuing, reported Hyjin. They've launched a warning shot. It will pass 200 meters off our port side. Seconds later, a bright flash of energy streaked past the ship. The message was clear. They're serious, muttered Jinwoo. So are we, Jiwoo replied. Time to weapons range threshold. 19 minutes at current speed, said Taeyeon. The ship trembled again as another gravitational wave hit them. This one lasted longer. Shield harmonics are holding steady, Junho reported from his engineering station. But we're in uncharted territory now. The shield technology has never been tested under these exact conditions. That's why we're here, Jiwoo reminded him. To test the untestable. Psychologist Do-Yeon Yoon sat quietly in the corner of the bridge, recording observations on her tablet. She looked up. Despite our proximity to what many consider certain death, crew morale remains remarkably strong. There's a sense of purpose that outweighs fear. Jiwoo smiled at her. Good to know we're not just putting on brave faces for each other. Not at all, Do-Yeon replied. Though there is some interesting psychological compartmentalization happening. Many crew members have recorded personal messages for family members, just in case. Have you? Asked Taeyeon. Do-Yeon nodded. I recorded one for my daughter. Another wave hit the ship, stronger than before. Warning lights flashed on several consoles. Shields down to 75%, called Chono. That one had teeth. Alliance vessel has increased speed, reported Hyjin. They're charging weapons. Time to threshold. Jiwoo demanded. 15 minutes. Jiwoo made a quick decision. Evasive pattern delta. Make them work for their shot. The horizon began to zigzag, making it harder for the Alliance vessel to target them. The inertial dampeners strained to compensate, and the crew felt the ship's movements as subtle shifts in gravity. They're firing, shouted Hyjin. The shot missed, but not by much. The energy blast sent sensor readings spiking across the bridge displays. Return fire? Asked Jinwoo. Jiwoo shook her head firmly. Absolutely not. We're scientists, not soldiers. We evade. We don't engage. The next 10 minutes were tense. The Alliance ship fired twice more, each shot coming closer than the last. But the horizon's erratic course made a direct hit difficult. Crossing weapons range threshold in 30 seconds, announced Taeyeon. The bridge crew held their breath. One final shot from the Alliance vessel streaked past their stern, close enough to briefly disrupt their sensor array. We're out of their range, Hyjin finally reported. A cheer went up from several stations. They're holding position at the threshold, added Jinwoo. Captain Nara is hailing us again. Put her through, said Jiwoo. The Meridian captain looked resigned now, her anger replaced with something like respect. Commander Park, you've made your choice. We will not pursue further. But be advised that we will remain at this position to render assistance should you manage to return. Thank you, Captain, Jiwoo replied sincerely. We appreciate that. After the transmission ended, the bridge felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. But the respite was brief. The next gravitational wave hit with unprecedented force. Shields at 62%, reported Juno. Commander, we need to activate the secondary shielding system now. Do it, ordered Juwu. The lights dimmed as power was diverted to the experimental shield technology. A low hum filled the ship as the new system came online. Theoretical point of no return in 60 seconds, announced Taeyun, his voice steady despite the enormity of what he was saying. Juwu looked around the bridge at her crew. Each face showed determination mixed with awe. They had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could truly prepare them for crossing an event horizon. All stations, final status report, she ordered. Navigation ready. Course plotted through the predicted stable corridor. Engineering ready. All systems at optimal performance. Sciences ready. All sensors recording. Communications ready. Final message buoy prepared for launch. Medical ready. Emergency protocols in place. Juwu took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would either make history or end their story forever. Proceed as planned. The horizon surged forward, directly toward the black hole. The final message buoy was released behind them, carrying data back to Earth even if they never returned. The view screen showed the impossible happening before their eyes. Stars seemed to bend around them, light twisting in ways that defied normal physics. The darkness of the black hole expanded until it filled their vision entirely. Event horizon in 3, 2, 1, counted Taeyun. There was a moment of strange pressure, as if the universe itself was pushing against them. Some crew members later described it as feeling like being watched by something ancient and powerful. Others said it felt like falling in all directions at once. Then they were through. The horizon had crossed the event horizon of Sagittarius X3. Humanity had taken its first step into what was once thought impossible. We made it, whispered Juwu, her voice filled with wonder. We actually made it. Around her, the bridge crew stared at their instruments in amazement. Against all predictions, the ship's systems continued to function. They were still alive, still conscious. Status report, Juwu called, breaking the spell of the moment. All systems operational, replied Juno, sounding surprised. Shields holding at 58%. We're receiving data, said Taeyun slowly, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Commander, you need to see this. Juwu moved to his station and looked at his display. What she saw there would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. Science officer Taehyun Kim stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. He ran the diagnostic program again, but the results remained the same. The horizon was intact. They were alive, and the data streaming and defied everything he'd been taught about black holes. This contradicts every established theory, Taehyun whispered, his fingers flying across the control panel as he analyzed the sensor readings. We're not being crushed. Space-time here operates under different rules. Commander Juwu Park moved to stand behind him, her eyes widening as she took in the readings. How is this possible? I don't know, Taehyun admitted. According to every textbook, we should have been stretched into atomic threads the moment we crossed the event horizon. The gravitational forces should be insurmountable. Yet here we are, Juwu said softly. The bridge crew worked in stunned silence, each processing the miracle of their continued existence. Through the viewports, they could see a landscape unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed. Light behaved strangely here, bending and twisting in impossible patterns. Stars appeared as stretched lines rather than points, creating a web of luminescence against the darkness. Visual sensors functioning at 72% capacity, reported engineer Junho Choi. Whatever this place is, it's not destroying our equipment as predicted. Artificial gravity and life support stable, added medical officer Minji Ryu. The crew is experiencing mild disorientation, but no serious physical symptoms. Juwu nodded, taking in all the information. Navigator, what's our position? Haijin Kang shook her head. Unknown, Commander. Standard navigational systems are offline. Our position relative to normal space cannot be determined. Then we'll need to create new reference points. Ju decided. Taehyun, begin mapping this region. Whatever it is. Already on it, he replied, not looking up from his work. I'm detecting unusual energy patterns throughout this space. It's like we're inside a bubble of altered physics. The horizon drifted forward, its engines running at minimal power. No one wanted to move too quickly in this unknown environment. Hours passed as they conducted preliminary surveys, cataloging the strange phenomena around them. Commander called Communications Specialist Seojin Ba. I'm not detecting any signals from outside. The subspace transmitter can't penetrate the event horizon. Ju had expected this. Keep broadcasting our status on all frequencies. Even if no one can hear us, we should maintain the protocol. Yes, Commander. Cultural Specialist Jaya Song, who had been quiet since they crossed the event horizon, suddenly gasped. Commander, port side, bearing 045. There's something out there. All eyes turned to the viewport. At first, they saw nothing but the strange patterns of light. Then, as the horizon's external lights adjusted, they saw it. Floating in the void was what appeared to be a structure. Not natural, but clearly artificial. Its design was angular, with smooth surfaces that reflected their ship's lights. It rotated slowly, revealing different facets as it turned. Is that? Minji couldn't finish her question. A ship, Ju completed for her, or what's left of one. Taehyun directed the sensors toward the object. It's made of an alloy similar to those used by the Vexari, but with significant differences. And it's old. Very old. How old? Asked Ju. Based on material degradation, at least 30,000 years. A collective murmur of astonishment went through the bridge. The Vexari had only achieved spaceflight 5,000 years ago, according to Alliance records. Are there any others? Ju asked. Jai adjusted the long-range scanners. Yes, multiple structures scattered throughout this region. Different designs, different materials. Some appear to be ships, others. I'm not sure what they are. Over the next few hours, they identified 17 distinct artificial objects floating in the void around them. Each one showed signs of great age. Each one represented a different civilization. Some were recognized as similar to known Alliance species. Others were completely unfamiliar. These structures suggest multiple civilizations attempted what we're doing, said Jaya, her voice filled with wonder as she analyzed the imagery. Some of these designs predate any known spacefaring civilization in Alliance records. But none of them made it back, Junho pointed out grimly, or we would have heard about it. Ju considered this. Perhaps what they discovered here was too valuable to share. The crew took shifts studying the ancient visitors. Jaya led a team that used remote probes to examine the nearest structures. What they found was both fascinating and disturbing. This ship, Jaya explained, pointing to a holographic recreation of one of the larger vessels, shows signs of deliberate shutdown, not catastrophic failure. It's as if they came here, explored for a while, then simply gave up. Or they found another way out, suggested Haijin, a way that meant leaving their ships behind. The possibility hung in the air, tantalizing and frightening. Signal lost with mission control, Haijin reported after another attempt to establish communication. We're completely on our own now. Ju nodded, unsurprised. We expected this. We trained for this. Yes, but it's different when it actually happens, said Do Yun, the ship's psychologist. I recommend we maintain regular ship-wide announcements to keep the crew connected. Isolation can quickly become a psychological strain in these conditions. Agreed, said Ju. Set up a schedule. I want every department sharing their discoveries, no matter how small. As the exploration continued, they moved deeper into the black hole's interior. The laws of physics seemed to bend further the deeper they went. Time itself began to feel elastic. Crew members reported experiencing moments differently, with some saying a minute felt like an hour, while others felt it pass in an instant. It's as if space-time is folding in on itself here, Taehyun theorized, creating pockets where time flows differently. On the third day, as measured by the ship's chronometers, though many felt it had been much longer, they made another discovery. The ship's AI suddenly alerted. Unknown energy signatures detected ahead. Complex patterns indicating possible intelligence. The automated voice broke through the quiet concentration on the bridge. Ju straightened immediately. "Location," she demanded. "Bearing 197. Distance approximately 300,000 kilometers," replied Taehyun, who had already accessed the AI's findings. "It's unlike anything in our database." "Put it on screen," ordered Ju. The main view screen showed what appeared to be a network of pulsing energy. It resembled a neural network, with bright nodes connected by threads of light. The pattern shifted constantly, reorganizing itself in ways that seemed purposeful rather than random. "It's beautiful," whispered Jaya. "Is it alive?" asked Minji. Taehyun studied his readings. "I don't know. It's giving off signals that resemble brainwave patterns, but at a scale and complexity far beyond anything biological we've encountered." "Could it be technological?" asked Duno. "Some kind of advanced computer system." "Maybe a combination," suggested Ju. "A technological system created by biological beings, or something that evolved beyond the distinction between the two." As they watched, the pattern seemed to notice them. Several of the brightest nodes oriented toward the horizon, and the connecting lines reorganized to focus in their direction. "It's reacting to us," said Seojin, his voice tight. "It knows we're here." "Are we in danger?" asked Ju, glancing at Taehyun. The science officer shook his head. "No way to know. We have no reference for this kind of entity." The pattern continued to shift, and then something extraordinary happened. A narrow beam of light extended from the network toward the horizon. It wasn't a weapon. The sensors detected no harmful radiation or particles, but a focused signal. "We're receiving transmission on an unusual frequency," reported Seojin with excitement. I can't describe it. The universal translator is attempting to process it, but the syntax is unlike anything in its database." "Keep working on it," ordered Ju. "This could be first contact with an entirely new form of life." As Seojin worked with the translator, the rest of the bridge crew watched the energy network with a mixture of awe and apprehension. They had come seeking knowledge about black holes, expecting to find new laws of physics. Instead, they might have found something far more profound, evidence that they were not the first to venture here, and perhaps not the most advanced beings in the universe. "Whatever that is," said Ju quietly, "it evolved here, in conditions we thought impossible for life, or it came here deliberately, just as we did." Either possibility was revolutionary. Either would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. "I think," said Taehyun, watching the beautiful, complex pattern shift and pulse, "that we're about to discover why no one ever came back from a black hole. Not because they couldn't, but because they chose not to. Because what they found inside was more compelling than anything they'd left behind." The bridge of the horizon fell silent as the energy pattern before them continued to shift and pulse. After hours of attempts, communications specialist Seojin Ba finally made a breakthrough with the universal translator. "Commander, I've established a basic translation matrix," he announced, his voice tight with excitement. "It's rudimentary, but I believe we can communicate with whatever this is." Commander Ju Park nodded, trying to hide her own excitement beneath a professional demeanor. "Open a channel. Standard first contact protocol." Seojin's fingers danced across his console. "Channel open." Ju straightened her uniform and spoke clearly. "This is Commander Ju Park of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and understanding." For several long moments, there was no response. Then the pattern of light before them pulsed in complex sequences. The translator hummed, processing the unusual language. "We are Sunyul, came the translated response, the ship's computer rendering the alien communication in a neutral voice. You are outside beings. How do you exist here? Science Officer Tae-hyun Kim looked up from his readings. They seem surprised that we're alive. They must understand that organic life like ours shouldn't survive in these conditions. Ju-woo nodded and addressed the Sunyul again. We have developed technology that protects us from the extreme conditions of this environment. We are explorers from beyond the event horizon of what we call a black hole. The light pattern shifted again, more rapidly this time. Black hole. Yes. Barrier between realms. You crossed willingly. Yes. Ju-woo confirmed. We came to study and learn. The pattern expanded suddenly, growing brighter. Several crew members flinched, but the sensors showed no danger. Fascinating. Request permission to connect more directly. For better understanding. Ju-woo hesitated, looking to her science officer. They might mean a more direct form of communication, Tae-hyun suggested. Our translator is crude at best. What do you propose? Ju-woo asked the Sunyul. Send small vessel. We will. Adapt environment. Meet as physical forms. The bridge crew exchanged looks of surprise and concern. They want a face-to-face meeting, said cultural specialist Jaya Song. This is unprecedented. Ju-woo made her decision quickly. Prepare Shuttle 1. Tae-hyun, Jaya, you're with me. Shuno, monitor our life support systems remotely. If anything seems wrong, you pull us out immediately. Commander, protested Navigator Haejin Kang. The risks are incalculable. So are the potential benefits. Ju-woo replied firmly. This is why we came. Within an hour, the small shuttle detached from the horizon and moved cautiously toward the pulsing network of energy. As they approached, they noticed a section of the pattern condensing, forming what appeared to be a spherical chamber of stable energy. They're creating a meeting space, observed Tae-hyun, watching the readings on his tablet. The conditions inside that sphere are being altered to match our life support requirements. That suggests an advanced understanding of our biology, noted Jaya. They must have scanned us thoroughly. The shuttle entered the sphere carefully. Inside, the chaotic energy patterns of the black hole's interior were absent. Instead, there was a calm, steady light that allowed them to see clearly. The Sunyul were waiting for them. They had taken physical form, or at least what appeared to be physical form. Their bodies were luminous and shifting, vaguely humanoid in shape, but constantly flowing like liquid light. 3 of them stood, or hovered, in the center of the sphere. Ju-woo, Tae-hyun, and Jaya exited the shuttle cautiously, their environment suits monitoring the external conditions. Atmosphere is breathable, Tae-hyun said with surprise, checking his readings. Temperature and pressure are within human normal range. Ju-woo removed her helmet slowly, taking a careful breath. The air tasted clean, with a slight metallic tang. The tallest of the Sunyul moved forward. Its form rippled as it communicated. Unlike before, the words seemed to form directly in Ju-woo's mind, bypassing her ears entirely. Welcome, travelers from beyond the barrier. I am Nyun, speaker for the Sunyul Collective. Ju-woo stepped forward. I am Commander Ju-woo Park. This is Science Officer Tae-hyun Kim and Cultural Specialist Jaya Song. We thank you for this accommodation. The Sunyul being's form pulsed with what might have been pleasure. Your presence astonishes us, Nyun conveyed to Ju-woo. In our history, no outside species has willingly entered our realm. This caught Jaya's attention immediately. You've encountered other species before. Yes, replied another of the Sunyul, its form slightly bluer than Nyun's. Many vessels have crossed the barrier over the ages, but always by accident or miscalculation, never by choice. What happened to them? Asked Tae-hyun. Most perished immediately, said the third Sunyul, its voice sounding sadder somehow. Their vessels could not withstand the conditions. A few survived long enough for us to establish contact, but they were damaged beyond repair. You've lived here for a long time. Ju observed. Did your species evolve here, within the black hole? Nyan's form brightened. Yes, we evolved to exist within this realm's unique physics. What you call a black hole is simply our home. We communicate primarily through gravitational pulses and energy transfers, though we can adapt to communicate with visitors when necessary. For hours, they exchanged information. The Sunyul were a collective consciousness of energy-based life forms that had evolved over millions of years. They had no concept of death as humans understood it. When individual Sunyul reached the end of their existence, their energy simply rejoined the collective. We observe many realms through what you might call windows, explained Nyan, creating a small model of the universe with streams of light. What you see as the destructive power of black holes we recognize as cosmic gateways, transit points connecting distant parts of the universe. Are you saying black holes connect to other places? Asked Taeyeon, his scientific mind racing with the implications. Yes. The one you entered connects to 17 other points across your galaxy. With the proper understanding and technology, one could travel between them instantly. Juwoo was stunned. That would revolutionize space travel. It would, agreed Nyan, but it requires precise navigation. Without it, travelers would be lost in the spaces between, as many have been before you. As they spoke, Juwoo's communicator suddenly chimed with an urgent signal from the horizon. She excused herself to answer it. Commander, came Engineer Juno Choi's voice, tight with concern. We have a problem. Go ahead, Juno. The primary drive is failing. Even with our shielding, we can't maintain stability beyond 3 more days. The unique physics here are affecting our systems more severely than we predicted. Juwoo felt her stomach tighten. Can you repair it? Not completely. We can stabilize it enough for a return journey, but only if we leave soon. If we stay longer, we risk being stranded here permanently. Understood. Stand by. Juwoo turned back to the Sunyul and her fellow officers, explaining the situation. Nyan's form dimmed slightly. This is unfortunate, but not unexpected. Your technology, while impressive, was not designed for prolonged exposure to our realm. Could you help us repair our ship? Asked Taeyeon. We could adapt some of your systems, offered the Blue Sunyul. But a complete solution would require time we fear you do not have. There is another possibility, said Nyan, its form pulsing thoughtfully. Some of you could return with your discoveries, while others could remain with us. We could protect those who stay and teach them about the Gateway Network. When they are ready, they could return through another exit point. The 3 humans looked at each other, the weight of this choice evident in their expressions. How long would that take? Asked Jai. To fully understand our navigation methods, perhaps 1 of your years. Juwoo thanked the Sunyul for their hospitality and asked for time to discuss with her full crew. Back on the horizon, she called an emergency meeting in the main conference room. The situation is this, she explained to her gathered officers. Our primary drive is failing. We have enough power to return home, but we must leave within 3 days. Alternatively, some of us could stay behind with the Sunyul to learn about their gateway technology, potentially returning through another black hole in about a year. The room erupted in discussion. Some crew members were eager to stay, seeing it as the opportunity of a lifetime. Others were concerned about the risks of trusting these unknown beings. How do we know they're telling the truth? Asked Medical Officer Minji Ryu. This could be a trap. I don't believe it is, said Jaya. They've shown no hostility, and they've gone to great lengths to accommodate us. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done so already. As the debate continued, Juwoo remained silent, listening to all perspectives. Finally, when everyone had spoken, she stood. I won't order anyone to stay, she said firmly. This must be a personal choice. But someone must take the horizon back to Earth with what we've already discovered. Humanity needs to know what we found here. She looked around the room at the faces of her crew, people she had trained with for years, people she trusted with her life. We have a choice. Return with what we've learned, or continue deeper with the Sunyul. Either way, we've already made history. Now we decide what happens next. The gravity of the moment settled over the room. Whatever they chose, nothing would ever be the same again. For them, or for humanity. The meeting lasted through the night cycle. Crew members argued passionately, weighing the risks against the potential discoveries. By morning, they had reached their decisions. 5 crew members departed on the horizon, carrying data that would revolutionize physics. Engineer Junho Choi would command the return journey, with navigator Haijin Kang plotting their course back through the event horizon. Medical officer Minji Ryu, communications specialist Seojin Ba, and 12 other essential crew members would join them. Commander Ju Park and 3 others. Science officer Taehyun Kim, cultural specialist Jaya Song, and psychologist Do-hyun Yoon chose to remain with the Sunyul, continuing the exploration of this impossible realm. The farewell was emotional but brief. They couldn't afford lengthy goodbyes with the Horizon's systems deteriorating. You have 96 hours to reach the event horizon. Ju reminded Chunho as they stood in the airlock. Don't waste a minute. Chunho nodded, his expression solemn. We'll make it, and we'll tell them about everything we found. Not everything, Ju said with a small smile. Save some surprises for when we return. When, not if, Junho replied firmly. We'll be watching the skies for you, Commander. The airlock closed. Ju watched through a viewport as the horizon detached from the shuttle that would now be their temporary home among the Sunyul. The starship's engines flared blue against the strange landscape of the black hole's interior, and then it was moving away, back toward the barrier they had crossed. Did we make the right choice? Asked Do-hyun as they watched the horizon disappear from view. Ask me in a year, Ju replied. Their education began immediately. The Sunyul created a more permanent habitat for them within the energy sphere, a space where the humans could live comfortably while learning about black hole navigation. Your concepts of space and time are limited by your experiences outside the barrier, explained Neon during their first lesson. Here, they are more fluid, more connected. Taehyun spent hours each day learning the complex mathematics of gravitational navigation. Jae studied Sunyul culture and history, documenting a civilization unlike any humanity had encountered. Do-hyun observed how isolation and the strange environment affected their small group, and Ju coordinated it all, focusing on the practical applications of their new knowledge. Meanwhile, the horizon fought its way back to normal space. The return journey was more difficult than the entry had been. The ship's systems, already strained, struggled against the pull of the black hole. Warning lights flashed constantly on the bridge. Shields at 31%, reported one of the engineers. If they drop below 25%, we won't survive crossing the event horizon. Junho remained outwardly calm, though his knuckles were white as he gripped his chair. Reroute power from non-essential systems. We need those shields. Haijin worked tirelessly at her station, calculating and recalculating their trajectory. The exit path is narrowing. We have to time this perfectly. 3 days into their return journey, they'd reached the event horizon. The moment of crossing stretched time in ways none of them could later describe adequately. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared from every console, and for a moment, it seemed they might not make it. Then suddenly, stars appeared before them. Normal, unwarped stars. They had crossed back into regular space. We did it, whispered Seojin, staring at the view screen in disbelief. We actually did it. But their journey wasn't over. The horizon limped through space for 2 weeks, makeshift repairs barely keeping their systems functional. Finally, they detected Alliance vessels on their long-range scanners. Alliance patrol ship approaching, announced Haijin. It's the Vigilant, Captain Nera's ship. The Meridian captain's blue face appeared on their view screen, her expression one of utter shock. Horizon. This is impossible. We detected you crossing the event horizon months ago. Not impossible, Captain, replied Chunho with tired pride. just very, very difficult. 3 months after the horizon had vanished into Sagittarius X3, it emerged back into Alliance space. The news spread rapidly across the galaxy. The ship was escorted to Earth with an honor guard of vessels from a dozen species. Their return defies everything we believed impossible, admitted Admiral Lee during the official reception on Earth. The Alliance leader's scaled skin flushed with emotion as he addressed the assembled dignitaries. We owe these brave humans an apology and our gratitude. The data they'd brought back transformed scientific understanding overnight. Black holes were not dead ends but doorways. Space was more connected than anyone had imagined. And the laws of physics, once thought absolute, proved to be more flexible than previously believed. In the weeks that followed, Shunho and the returning crew members were debriefed extensively. Scientists and military officials asked endless questions about the Sunyul and what lay beyond the event horizon. "What about Commander Park and the others?" asked one official. "Are they truly coming back?" Commander Park gave her word, Junho replied firmly. "If there's a way back, she'll find it." Exactly 1 year after the separation, observatories across the galaxy detected unusual activity around a black hole in the Andromeda Galaxy, one that the Sunyul had identified as connected to Sagittarius X3. A small vessel emerged, broadcasting an Earth identification signal. Inside were Commander Ju Park and her 3 companions, along with a wealth of knowledge that dwarfed even what the horizon had brought back. "The Sunyul taught us how to navigate the Gateway Network," Ju explained during her first press conference. "With the right technology, we can travel between distant points in the universe almost instantly." The knowledge they brought transformed humanity's standing in the galaxy. Species that once viewed humans as recklessly curious now sought their expertise in exploration. The Alliance established a new division dedicated to black hole navigation, with humans leading the research. Earth began construction on a fleet of ships designed specifically for black hole travel. The first and largest was named Sunyul, in honor of the beings who had shared their knowledge. 5 years later, at the Academy of Cosmic Studies, a new class of cadets gathered for their graduation ceremony. Above the podium hung a holographic display of the horizon crossing the event horizon of Sagittarius X3, a moment now considered as significant in human history as the first steps on the moon. A plaque beneath the display bore words that had become famous throughout human space. The stars called, and only humans were brave enough to answer, even when that call came from within a black hole. Standing at the back of the ceremony hall, now wearing the uniform of an Alliance admiral, Ju Park watched the next generation prepare to follow the path she had opened. Beside her stood Nyun, the Sunyul representative who had chosen to experience life outside the black hole. "Are they ready?" asked the energy being, its form contained within a special environmental suit that allowed it to maintain physical form in normal space. Chu smiled, watching the eager young faces. "Ready? No, neither were we. But they're brave and curious. And sometimes, that's enough." Together, they watched as the new graduates placed their hands on the Academy Oathstone, promising to explore with wisdom and courage. Above them, visible through the transparent dome of the hall, the stars shone brightly, no longer distant and unreachable, but doorways waiting to be opened. "You humans," Neon said with what sounded like affection in its mental voice, "always looking into the darkness to find the light." "That's why we went into the black hole," Ju replied. "That's why we'll keep going, wherever the universe leads us." And as the ceremony concluded, the graduates turned their faces upward, toward the sky that was no longer a limit but a beginning. In a galaxy that had once seen humans as impulsive and reckless, they were now seen as the species brave enough to redefine possibility itself.